Hey everyone,
Hello.
welcome back to another episode of Fourth and Wrong. We will let the chat pile up a little bit as we start here. Good to see everybody on this fine Monday evening.
It is. How are you today?
I'm good, man. Ready for the tournament to start for sure. Florida State sucked for the third year in a row.
You guys, y'all won your first game? What do you call it? In the ACC tournament, dude. I feel like that is my favorite week. Like this week's gonna be awesome. I'm excited to watch the first two rounds of March Madness. But there's something about conference tournament weekend that's just awesome. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, certainly. I kind of got wrapped up in the Players Championship this weekend. So I didn't watch much of the Florida Auburn game, but congrats to Auburn on an SEC tournament victory.
Yep. And then getting just completely screwed over, like a couple hours later, by the committee. Like that was, or I guess not the committee. What would it even be called?
I think it's a committee of some sort.
Is it? Yeah, they won. Hold on one second. They won the what do you call it? They won the SEC tournament and then immediately got completely screwed and sent to Spokane as a 4 seed. They're in a bracket with 3 other conference champs. And I think the weirdest part, we'll get into this later with the whole thing. But it was the weirdest thing for me was the fact that Bama was a 4 seed. They were like the last 4 seeds. They were basically ranked 16th. Auburn just won the SEC, and they were 15th. They were the third ranked 4 seed. And then the committee sent Bama, Auburn, and UAB all to Spokane.
I mean, Spokane is nice this time of year.
It's just such a weird, like, it's not even fucking, excuse my language, not even close. We're going to clean up the F-bombs on this episode. But yeah, it's just like, it's not even close. It's not even anyway, whatever. There's, I feel like we're like back into the swing of things because last week, as soon as we posted the pod, like the following day, news broke about Saban going to Washington and it became a whole thing.
Yeah. And now in the last week since we talked, there's a 14-team playoff that starts in 2026.
I'm still so mad about that.
Bad. Real bad.
Yeah, man. It's been a wild week. So let's start there, maybe with some of the football stuff before we get into March Madness. What do you know about Saban going up to Washington and what was he doing up there?
So first and foremost, he didn't just go on his own accord. He went here. While I'm saying this too, why don't you see if you could find the audio of what he said or video of what he said, because he basically he was asked to go up to Washington for, I think Ted Cruz was involved, the Cavender twins were involved.
Okay.
Yeah, that'll pique the interest. And they were talking about just the state of NIL, and because I think the NCAA is trying to get the government to help it out and blah, blah, blah. So the majority of the response from people about Saban's comments was that, Saban's bitching and moaning about NIL. I think one of the things he said was, the main quote that got the most attention was, he was telling a story about how him and Miss Terry, which him saying Miss Terry in Congress or wherever they were was hilarious. But he was talking about it, and he said, on Sundays when we have recruiting trips, we have like everyone at the house and their families at the house, and we have over here, and usually Miss Terry takes the moms and goes and talks to them and says, hey, here's how we're going to develop them. Here, I'm going to take care of your kids. Don't worry about it, blah, blah, blah. Here's all the things we're going to do. And I think she made the comment to him, which is, why are we even doing this anymore? Every single person only asked about how much money can you make us. And Saban delivered that to, on camera in front of people about NIL, and people just lost it. I had a conversation with my buddy Pablo Escoburner about this on Twitter, and him and I were talking about it because it comes off to every other fan base, and you're an FSU guy, so you can tell me what you think about it. But like, it comes off to every other fan base as pompous, arrogant, maybe tone deaf, whiny. I mean, what other words can you throw in? And people are really upset about the fact that I think that the vessel is being the message is being delivered through is Saban, and so there was a ton of backlash on what he said, but I thought of most people who are pretty in tune with it, like we're about to watch this video of Scott Van Pelt right here. Most people who are in tune with like the objectiveness of what's happening all kind of agreed that this is an accurate thing that's going on. Hit play.
Here's Saban. All the things that I believed in for all these years, 50 years of coaching, no longer exist in college athletics. So it's always was about developing players. It was always about helping people be more successful in life. My wife even said to me, we'd have all the recruits over on Sunday with their parents for breakfast. And she would always meet with the mothers and talk about how she was going to help and impact their sons and how they would be well taken care of. And she came to me, like right before I retired and said, why are we doing this? And I said, what do you mean? She said, all they care about is how much you're going to pay them. They don't care about how you're going to develop them, which is all what we've always done. So why are we doing this? So, to me, that was sort of a red alert that we really are creating a circumstance here that is not beneficial to the development of young people.
All right. What are your thoughts on it?
No, I mean, look, I can see why it sounds tone deaf. It sounds like, oh, I don't want to be a part of this game, and it's the only way, that I'm basically getting phased out of the game. So I understand that aspect of it, but I think he's just saying what most of the coaches think these days. I mean, I talked to a coach recently, won't name him, but he actually worked for Saban for a lot of years, and he was actually with his wife when I was talking to him, and they were telling me just all about it. It was a really cool talk, and that's what he said. I said, well, he retired, so he got out at the right time, or that's what I told him at least. And his wife said basically the same thing that Saban just said. It used to be that I would be really involved with the players, and it was about what kind of family culture you could build and that kind of thing. And now it's just straight up, how much money can I get paid, and am I going to start? And if not, I'm going to transfer. I mean, it's the Wild West. And I mean, I don't begrudge Saban for taking it. I think it's a great thing because ultimately someone needs to stand up and say something.
So I agree with you for one. I also think it's one of those things where it's like two or maybe even more things can be true at the same time. Like Saban saying this, I guess what pissed me off the most, Tyler, is that the moment he said anything was the moment you heard from other fans, like outside of Tuscaloosa, that were like, for the most part, and this is all on social media, which is like 90% of the loudest 10%. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's just it's a cesspool. But like the response from everyone was like, a lot of anger about, like he shouldn't be talking about this. Like he only left because the game wasn't beneficial to him anymore, and blah blah blah. And like, I'm not even saying this is not why he left at this point. I guess what pisses me off the most about it is this is what we've been saying for over a year. There are real issues facing college football. There are real issues. And there's probably not a better person to have this conversation with than Nick Saban. And even our buddy SC Mike, I was talking to him about it last week, and he was like, he wasn't saying anything it was right or wrong that Saban was talking about it, but he was like, this is how much money Nick Saban has made from coaching college football. So it seems hypocritical for him to be the one saying it. But all we're really saying there is, okay, the most successful coach to ever coach in this sport, the most successful coach of this sport to ever coach in this sport is also the highest paid in the sport. So therefore, he should not be talking about the issues in the sport just because he made a lot of money. And I think what really bummed me out the most was there was not, at least on social media, which is maybe not where it should have been happening anyway, but like for the most part, there was not a lot of discourse on it. The moment it was that he became the vessel for that communication was the moment I think a lot of people tuned out. And it sucks because it's like the level of discourse from people, it seemed like was almost zero. Nobody wants to talk about that because they don't really like him. And I'm not saying it's right or wrong or whatever. What I am saying is it bums me out that like in 2024, it feels like college football and politics, just handshake emoji, are the same because we're just not going to have conversation about it without somebody saying something as loud as possible and as ignorant as possible without having getting anything done. You know what I mean?
Well, that's politics 101, baby.
Right. And that's like, it just bums me out because it's like, that's all I saw last week. And then the funny part about it, Tyler, is listen, if he's not the right voice, then screw it. Find someone that's the right voice because these are real issues that need to be said. The next day, like less than 24 hours, Kirby Smart said the same thing. Said almost exactly the same thing. And you heard nothing. It's like, because what he was saying was factual and it was all a good point. And it was like, you know, this is something like that. Those aren't the kind of kids you want to recruit. So maybe Kirby's the right voice to go talk about these things. And if he wants to take time out of recruiting to do it, then I would love it because I think he's probably one of the best voices to have this conversation with. It's just the whole thing just sucks, man. It's just because I don't think they got anywhere closer to fixing it.
No. And the on the field stuff that they're changing, I think all that they've really figured out is that, you know, the money side of it and the SEC and the Big Ten getting more. We don't really know the setup yet of the 14-team playoff, but as soon as we got the 12-team playoff, 14 teams was right behind it. So
that sucks.
Hopefully this is the top of the, I mean, I don't know. It just seems like from what we were talking about 2 years ago when Texas and Oklahoma came into the SEC, is this going to turn into NFC, AFC, 7 teams each get into the playoffs? And it looks like that's where we're headed, man.
I feel like this has become like the topic we've talked about nonstop over the last like several weeks. And I every time it's like I still want to talk about it, but at the same time I have the same reaction, which is like this sucks. That's all I can think of. Like it just sucks because it's like what's weird is we waited for so long. We waited for so long for the NCAA to make changes that we all think were probably necessary to make in the sport of college football. And then they made some, and then other people made other ones. But like you hit the nail on the head, man. Like all they figured out is the money side of it. There isn't another side of it that they've even tried to figure out. This is the thing I keep going back to. They went like I think having a 16 playoff would have made sense. Like having a 12-team playoff, because now really, Tyler, how do you get up and get excited for the Meineke Car Quest Bowl or whatever the hell it is? You know what I mean? Like, I mean, for real, like we'll bet on it and we'll definitely.
That's how I get up for it.
But like it's. I think the thing that I keep coming back to is Mizzou finally they played their spring game on Saturday, but by the time they had made this decision, it was before Saturday, which means we hadn't even played a spring game in the year that we were going to have a 12-team playoff, and they already expanded it. And I just don't get that.
Well, whenever you find yourself confused, just think about money, and that's usually the answer.
That usually makes me more confused. I don't know what a Roth IRA is.
Well, buddy over here can help you with that.
Perfect.
Speaking of making lots of money for the NCAA, brackets came out.
Yeah.
I'm not going to pretend to know what team's the best team in the country.
Yeah.
But we could at least touch on the SEC here. Obviously, we talked about in the East bracket, you've got Auburn as a 4 seed going to play Yale.
Also, love the fact that it's the East bracket. and they're going to Spokane. I understand that's different, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, doesn't make much sense.
No.
Okay, so Washington State's kind of got a little home advantage out there
Mm-hmm.
potentially. God, this is okay. North Carolina's got the 1 seed in the West bracket. I don't know. I don't know that I'm that impressed with North Carolina.
Yeah.
Bama is in that bracket with Charleston.
Charleston somehow has a worse defense than Bama, which is tough to do. Tough to do.
Okay, and then in the second round, a potential matchup with either Grand Canyon or St. Mary's.
So Grand Canyon, fun
Yeah.
fact about them, their head coach is, and now I can't think of his name. It's the guy that hit that shot for Valpo so many years ago.
Oh, Bryce Drew.
Yes. It was two first names.
Yeah.
And St. Mary's is like, when you tune in to see a Gonzaga game because you can't go to sleep and it's like late February, that's who they're playing is St.
Yeah.
Mary's. The Gonzaga and St. Mary's play roughly 17 times a year.
Interesting. Also a potential setup with Mississippi State if they could somehow upset Michigan State. Well, I don't know if that would be an upset. I guess they're the 8th seed, but North Carolina, Bama could potentially face them. You've got Baylor in there. Arizona is always a good team, although they're not usually good in the tournament.
Well, yeah, they also them getting a 2 seed. It's like it's not like it's not deserved, but it's very frustrating. They lost 4 games in the regular season in the Pac-12, and the Pac-12 I believe only got 2 teams in, and then they lost in the semifinals, ruined a pretty good parlay against Oregon, and they got like kind of it wasn't thrashed, but they never got thrashed in the second half.
They're always a good bet to exit in like the 3rd round.
Yeah.
Who's 16. Let's see who else we got here. Tennessee's got the 2 seed
again.
In the Midwest.
Hold on, go back. You see who they're playing?
St. Peter's,
baby.
What are they again?
Remember they upset Kentucky 2 years ago.
Yeah, but is that a quail?
I don't remember. They are the Peacocks. They had that white kid with the mustache, and I remember I think it was Jack Mack that posted about it. But their campus is like an abandoned storage unit or some shit in like Manhattan. It's like ridiculous. Texas at 7.
Yep, another SEC squad.
Kind of. Go back to the other one. I can't see anything here.
Okay.
Creighton and Dayton. I wish that Creighton and Dayton should just always play each other. I feel like in the first round, they're always in the tournament for one.
And it's a great sounding matchup, Creighton and Dayton.
That's very true. South Carolina, Oregon is a sneaky good game. Carolina's good. Also, yeah, Kansas got bounced in the first round of theirs. I'm excited for Gonzaga, McNeese State because that is a Will Wade coach team.
Oh, that's where Will Wade is now?
Yeah, and they went like I want to say they went like 31-3.
Will Wade still making his way around town. Making my way around town.
He's pretty good. I like that matchup.
Purdue, the 1 seed.
Purdue also. Dude, just costly.
Kentucky's got a pesky Oakland squad.
Here's what pisses me off about all of this. And I'm going to go back to Auburn, and not just because my girlfriend is an Auburn grad. Kentucky getting a 3 seed over Auburn, like Auburn just won the SEC, and they won they won each of their 3 games by an average of 19 points per game. I mean, and won the SEC, and they were a 4 seed. They didn't even get bumped up to a 3. They were a 4 seed going in. Like, just say the games don't matter. Go back to the right real quick.
The games don't matter. Remember? We knew that already.
Yeah, that's very true. Houston and Longwood. Longwood played A&M a couple years back, I believe. Because I have all my little matchup breakdowns saved. So that was fun. There's a couple of repeats in here too, so I won't have to do as much work, which I'm very excited about.
Nebraska A&M.
That'll be fun. I don't think I've ever done Nebraska, so that'll be a good one. Yeah, Nebraska is pretty good as well. NC State made a run in the ACC tournament. Yeah, Evan Grimes brings up a good point. The Houston gave Drake a jersey, which is like a kiss of death. I don't know why they would have done that.
Oh God.
It's just
Did
like,
you see the jersey swap in the NBA?
oh yeah.
That was good.
Did you see what happened afterwards?
Yeah, the Magic social media guy got fired.
Like immediately. I mean, I might need to apply, to be honest. Yeah, that was pretty funny. No, I think we'll have to do a bracket against each other or something. I'm excited. This is always a really, really fun week. And also you get like, I mean, Thursday it starts at 11:15. I think Mississippi State, Michigan State's the first game.
Nice.
So yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah. It seems like every year that goes by, I know less and less about the tournament, but I still don't think it really matters when it comes to the brackets.
Yeah, it's fair. It's fair. It should be fun. I saw a couple people fill theirs out just as like who would win in a football game. Favored Bama pretty well, so I might just do that. I don't know.
Yeah. Longwood Fair.
Yeah.
Longwood Fair, pretty good.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, where do we want to go next? I feel like I'm forgetting something.
Early signing day moved.
Yeah, I didn't really. Whatever. Like,
yeah,
they're talking about how it's going to. I think it was actually high school states, because this varies. I think like from state to state. I think I could be wrong about that, but like from the high school level is where you're getting the most pushback on this. Where if you have an early signing day, which like it was made with the intent to benefit high schoolers. I don't know. I don't know what went into the decision. I think it happened in 2020 or 2021. And I just don't remember what went into it. And to be honest, it kind of ruined recruiting for me, just because it's like it just takes away from like the shine of signing day. There's not as much going on or going into it. But having all the reclassification, that's like what's really.
I know that's starting to be a big thing, like maybe 10, 15 years ago, the big thing started to become enrolling early.
Yeah.
Now pretty much everybody enrolls early. So now it's like, now we just graduate early.
Right.
And eventually we'll be graduating early and enrolling early.
And it's like full years. It's like a kid like, and I've only seen it up until this year, unless it's academic and the kid's a genius. Remember the kid that went to Ole Miss?
Yeah.
Skipped 2 grades. My sister, who's a genius, she skipped 2 grades in high school. But like, I've only really seen it from like, all right, this junior is going to skip his senior year and enroll. But that Juju, what's his name, the quarterback from Georgia, who was committed to USC for a minute, and now he's decommitted from them. He
officially decommit?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I mean, Evan probably knows. But yeah, I'm pretty sure he decommitted, and he reclassified, so he's going into his senior year. He skipped his. Like he's a sophomore going into his senior year. Yeah. Yep. He did not decommit. Good.
Okay.
So how much we keep up with fucking high school recruiting. It's so beyond me. And also, Tyler, you see this all the time. I get so tired of seeing people that are like, man, like the early recruiting rankings came out in February, and you see this like social media celebration about it. It's like, man, there's still like 10 months to go.
Yeah, I saw an initial 2026 ranking came out. I was like,
I can't even do that math. A perfect game is like I've started following more high school baseball again, because like Parkview's ranked like 4th in the country. But yeah, because it's for the most part seems like it's a lot of the same people that were ranked when we were in school. But they were like, yeah, so and so he's the number 1 prospect in our initial 2028 rankings, and I was like, I have no concept of what grade that is at all. And it was like a right-handed pitcher throwing like 89 miles an hour. I was like, so they have to be 13.
Yeah, I was thinking probably 8th grade.
Yeah. So
wild. All right, you want to do 2 truths and a lie? You've got some. I don't have any this week.
Well, you can help me with mine. How about that?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, 2 truths and a lie. So we did this last week. We had some tremendous feedback from it. I think one of the quotes we got was, "It's very clear that you don't understand what 2 truths and a lie is," and they're not wrong. So there's that. All right, 2 truths and a lie. So early win total locks I'm going to give you two that I think are surefire overs and one that's an under. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Let's start off
You
with your
need me
favorite
You need
team.
me to bring up some schedules here?
I would love for you to do that. Florida, 5.5. There's a real part of me, Tyler, that is leaning into this idea that Florida is going to be better than we all think, strictly because it's had enough time for, I think, like the contrarian in me to be like, oh man, everyone thinks they're going to suck. What if they don't? What if they're going to be? Because here's the thing too, the bar is set so low for Florida that
It's really low. What, 5.5 wins?
it's at 5.5 wins, but the bar is set so low nationally that it's become it's just an accepted outcome that they're going to be awful. Our buddy JD Piquel talks about this a lot. And I think it's one of the best things we've talked about all offseason, and that is punchline culture. So just things that we're not going to look into, or we're not going to do any sort of objective thinking about, because punchline culture just tells us, hey, that team's going to suck. This team's going to do this team does this, blah, blah, blah. So, we just accept that's like what their fate is. And that's what's happened with Florida. Everyone just kind of assumes Florida's going to suck. Now, I say all of that to say they are my under for sure. Because here's the thing, pull up the schedule. Okay, they're going to lose that game on Saturday or on April 13th. That game in Miami, at least they get Miami at home. At least they get Sanford at home.
I think Miami is further along. They got Cam Ward in the offseason.
Yeah.
They've recruited better from the high school level over the last 2 years. I think they've done a little bit better in the transfer portal. So I would expect, I haven't seen the line on this game, but I would expect Miami's probably favored, even at Florida.
I would assume, if they're not, we need to jump on that immediately.
Yeah.
That's what we should do. We need to set up the super chat and then take whatever money we get.
I did set it up before this, but we have to have like 100 hours of streamed or something like that.
Fun. Okay, we'll figure it out. All right. Maybe we'll just do like a week-long marathon. We'll just leave it running during college. Yeah, during March Madness.
We could do what the guys at Barstool did, and I'll just live in solitude for 3 weeks and record it.
It's just me going to the bathroom every 30 minutes. I gotta pee again. Okay. So I'm looking at this, and I see 2-2 in the first 4 games at best.
Yeah, you've got Miami, Samford. So let's say you split those. Then you go Texas A&M at home, which is not by any means a guarantee. And then you go to Mississippi State, which obviously is in pretty much complete rebuild right now.
Yeah.
And then you get a bye. And then you could argue that the gauntlet starts after the bye, but
no, it doesn't. Here's the thing, and we don't have to spend too much time on it. But I'll just say this: I'm rooting for Florida this year. I'm rooting for Billy Napier. I feel like it's one of those things like against the world, against all odds. I hope Billy Napier proves every single person wrong. I really do. I don't think he's a bad coach. I don't think he's a bad guy. I think he's doing his effing best. Like Billy Napier to me is the Dane Cook sketch. I'm going to date myself, where he's talking about the guys, like how guys cry. I did my best. I did my best. That's Billy Napier. Like he was thrown into a pretty tough situation strictly because I understand what it says on the helmet and I understand the logo, but man, they were behind not only with recruiting, they were really behind from a facility standpoint. That's one of the things I'm still trying to wrap my head around, Tyler, is some of these teams that were so far behind from a facility standpoint is mind-blowing to me. Georgia was, Florida was, but here's the thing. Evan says in the chat, do you think DJ Lagway takes Mertz's job? I don't. I think he goes into this season, Billy Napier that is, with one of the top, I'll say 5 to 8 first top half SEC quarterbacks in the conference. Graham Mertz was really good last year. Statistically, he was very, very good and not a ton around him. He also didn't show up a lot in big games. I will say that. But looking at the schedule, man, I just feel like
And I mean, I know Lagway is supposed to be like the next big thing, but are you? This is your basically last shot for a while to be a top P5 head coach. Do you want basically your career in the hands of a true freshman who's never played a snap?
so. This happened with Gus Malzahn and Bo Nix, and I will stand by this. When Bo Nix was there, this is like one of the better, smarter things I've probably ever said on the pod. Me and Connor were talking about this on the old pod. This is like 2019 offseason, going into spring game. We had to make a bold prediction, and my bold prediction was Bo Nix wins the starting job, and Malik Willis, who he thought would win, would transfer out. And that's exactly what happened because of the fact that, like, what's up, Booza? I think that what he did, and I think this is a good move, Tyler, is he kind of hitched his wagon in what was at the time a contract year for Gus Malzahn, or at least a hot seat year. He kind of hitched his wagon to Bo Nix as a true freshman quarterback, saying like, hey, it's a true freshman, but he's a 5-star. He's one of the highest ranked recruits in the country, blah, blah, blah. Let me see this through. And I think that Napier could do that with Lagway, but I don't think he will because I think he's already got a good quarterback in Mertz. He's already got a proven starter in Mertz, which is something Auburn didn't have at the time when they were going through this with Bo Nix. The other thing I think I would guarantee you'll see is Lagway will see the field a bunch because they are going to have to get creative and figure out ways to not only win games, to keep him around.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, look, Tebow came in his freshman year, even though that Leak was the established starter.
Mm-hmm.
Came in and they had a package for him that worked really well. And so I could definitely see that with Lagway. If he's the athlete that they say he is, which I'm sure he is.
Yeah.
But yeah, you go basically once they do that first, everyone gets 2 buys this year.
Yeah.
So they get that first bye September 28th, and then they go UCF at home, at Tennessee, back home against Kentucky, another bye, and then the gauntlet of all gauntlets.
This is the worst. And also, it's not even like at Florida State, at Texas, away against Georgia. And here's the thing that's so scary, man. I say this every year or every time the game is brought up. We all know how good Georgia's going to be. And we assume we know how good they're going to be. It's just like there's just not a chance in hell that game, as long as Kirby Smart is the head coach, that's never a look-ahead game. And not just because it's a rivalry game. This is not a – Georgia-Florida is no longer one of these, oh, man, anything can happen. It's a rivalry game. It's not like that. What it is Kirby Smart gets a week off and to remind everyone on his team, like, hey, these guys, yeah, they beat me almost every single year I was in college, and I hate them. Like, I hate them. And so that worries me. At Texas worries me. I will say I don't think Texas is going to be as good as people think, but I think that's still – it's just too much. So I'm going to take the under, but, man, it would be awesome to see – I tell you what, it would be awesome to see Billy Napier get his 6th win and make them bowl eligible in one of those games. Like, especially Georgia, Texas, or no offense, or Florida State.
No, that wouldn't be funny at all. Let's go to Tennessee here.
Man. So I've already given away my lie, so my under, but
yeah,
dude, hammer the over.
What's the over on Tennessee this year?
It's like 8.5 or 8.
All right, so let's take this game by game. Chattanooga, win. NC State on the road.
Ranked. Well, it's on the road. It's at
neutral site.
Yeah. I mean,
but in North Carolina.
Tennessee will travel.
Yeah. What do you got there? I think that's a toss-up game, personally.
I don't. I think it's a win.
Okay.
I tell you what, if that's a toss-up game, and if that's a toss-up game and they lose, things could get dicey.
Yeah. Kent State win at Oklahoma. We'll see how Oklahoma's going to be this year, but that'll be a tough game.
Mm-hmm. Very interesting, too. A lot of storylines there.
There are. Little Josh Heupel action.
Mm-hmm.
What's the other storyline?
That's it. That's the only storyline. So that's just one.
Bye week at Arkansas, you would think would be a W there. Florida at home. Then the 3rd Saturday in October, Alabama in Knoxville. Trying to go back-to-back wins at home against Alabama.
Hasn't happened in almost 30 years. No,
Then-
20.
Then they get another bye week. And then they finish with a string of 5 games, starting against Kentucky at home, Mississippi State at home, at Georgia, UTEP at home, and then at Vandy.
This is why I'm taking the over again, because go back up. Maybe Florida is a look ahead game against Bama, because you have Bama the following week. But say you lose to NC State or Oklahoma. I don't think they lose both.
Yeah, you have to split those for sure.
So they're 3-1 coming out of that, right? Arkansas is a win. You get Florida at home. Now, we talked about this on the show last year in the summer, and people hated us for it, or mainly me. But that game in the Swamp is very different than the game in Tennessee. And I am fully aware. I think Tennessee is like 2-18 in their last 20 against Florida. But they get them at home, and this is a different era, I think, because at the very least, the confidence is back for Tennessee. I think they beat Bama at home, to be honest, because I think that is now again the one that's circled or highlighted on the calendar that they want more than anything, and I think is attainable. I think it's attainable this time.
It's good that you got both those games at home,
back to back. Could be electric atmosphere for both of those.
Yep.
Especially if, by the way, if that ends up being a night game on ABC with Bama, Tennessee.
Yep. You got a bye week the next week, put it all on the line.
Yeah.
Then you got Kentucky again at home. They got a lot of home games.
Yeah. Mississippi State at home.
Yep. Kentucky at home, Mississippi State at home. Then they go on the road to Georgia. Obviously, that's a tough one. But then they finish the year UTEP and at Vandy.
Yeah.
I do like that over pick.
I think it's one of my favorite picks of the year. I don't see where they lose.
The swing games are at the very beginning of the year.
Mm-hmm.
To me, because the NC State game and the at Oklahoma are two that I could see going either way.
I will say this too, though.
Being more likely to obviously win you're more likely to win the NC State game than the Oklahoma game.
Yeah. I will also say this. I think if you scroll down, and I'm starting to lean into this idea that, maybe this is accurate, Tyler. I don't know. Maybe I am a little bit of a pessimist, and maybe a lot of my objectivity about Bama can sometimes be an emotional hedge. But I will tell you this. On paper, as of today, March 18th, when you look at the strengths of what Tennessee is going to do, especially under Josh Heupel, and what we've seen them do over the past couple seasons, there's not a bigger mismatch on paper than the Tennessee offense, what we expect from them in the air, and Alabama's biggest weakness, which is Nick Saban retiring. No, the secondary. The secondary, you have 5 scholarship players going into spring.
Yeah, there is a second portal. Jalen Key, you guys pulled in the second.
And
right?
Where's he now?
He's
at Ole Miss, and he's projected to be one of the top transfer players in the I think it's him. It's true. I'm thinking of Amos, the kid.
I think Jalen Key was a senior.
Yeah, he graduated.
All right, and let's get to your last team here. Shouldn't take us too long to get there because it's part of this schedule.
Yeah,
and that is the Oklahoma Sooners. So you're in with the Sooners this year.
I'm kind of buying in. You know why? How about the start to their season? You're 3-0 off the bat.
Yep, all the games at home.
I think I expected. I've talked about this a little bit in the last couple episodes and last couple things we've done, and okay, Pep, what's up? Pepper says hello, everyone. I feel like Sankey or whoever's in charge of making the schedule gave Texas and gave OU a little bit easier of a path than they have for other teams. And maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I'm just what's it called? Spoiled grapes? What is it? Sour grapes? Sour grapes.
Sour grapes, yeah.
Grapes don't spoil. I'm stupid. So I think that it surprises me that when I think of OU, without looking at the schedule, when I think of OU, what I think of at the start of the season, you're traditionally not going to play a real tough first 3 games. You're going to be at home, and they always have that one game that's on pay-per-view for whatever reason, like old school ESPN game plan for whatever reason, right? So then I look at this year's schedule and you think, well, maybe it'll change because they're in the SEC. Nope. Temple, Houston, Tulane, all at home. Tennessee, at home, at Auburn.
They've come close to losing to Tulane a couple times.
They have. They did. They might have lost to them 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Or maybe that was a game where Spencer Rattler kind of pulled them through. But I think at worst, but their number, keep in mind here, their number is 7.5. I think at the start of the year, at worst, you're 3-2, right? So scroll down.
Yeah. So the two being Tennessee at home and at Auburn.
Right. Texas, you're 3, maybe you're 3-3. I think a lot of people think. People thought that this year. And
I don't know, man. I mean, look, Auburn at the beginning of the season.
Right.
Right now, they still have what's his name at quarterback?
What is his name at quarterback?
I can't even remember it. The guy the guy from last year.
Peyton Thorne.
Yeah.
Dude, Peyton Thorne is I love this, but from Booza here. Pepper, what are you eating? Woman, Pepper's eating paper towels or receipts or something. Peyton Thorne was a $390,000 or $350,000 NIL get for Auburn.
Good job.
Yeah, great investment, guys.
Anyway,
I going back up to this, I do think that Auburn fans, no offense, I think that Auburn fans have started to think this is like a dub already because it's their first SEC road game. You got to come into Jordan-Hare with all of voodoo. I got news for you guys. There's not a ton of Jordan-Hare voodoo outside of the last 2 to 3 weeks of the season. This is not a place where people go in at the start of the year and like, oh my God, we can't navigate through this. You have seen a ton of losses in Jordan-Hare over the past couple seasons. You saw one last year to New Mexico State. So I don't think that this is the automatic dub that a lot of Auburn fans are getting. I think that they could easily win that game. But say they don't, and just catastrophe situation, Texas on the road, they beat Texas last year.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I still say you're sitting at 2 losses. South Carolina, that's a win. Ole Miss, let's say it's a loss.
Yep.
Then you got Maine. That's a win.
At Missouri.
Maybe this is tougher than I thought. At Mizzou.
That final 3 weeks. At Mizzou by Bama at home, and then at LSU.
They get Bama at home. I
love that Oklahoma and LSU are playing the last game of the year.
I do too. I think that game at Mizzou is going to be a war because those two teams, especially from this offseason, do not like each other. I'll give you a hot take here, Tyler. I think OU can win 2 of those last 3. And if I'm going through game by game, here's go to the top. If I'm going through game by game, here's what I expect out of OU because I think they're going to be better than people think. And I think that where I'm getting most of this from is Jackson Arnold is a true freshman quarterback last season, right? You had Dylan Gabriel, who was one of the best quarterbacks in the country, like top 10 to 15 quarterback in the country, right?
Mm-hmm.
You were comfortable enough with letting him go, knowing full well you had the money to keep him if you wanted. You were comfortable enough letting him go and then bringing in this true freshman, giving him the reins to it, the whole thing, the key to the whole thing and key to everything in the garage.
He's supposed to be
huh?
Said he's supposed to be a stud.
And you also have you have a situation where the defense should finally be at the level of what Brent Venables was put there to do and has done in the past. And you bring in or you return some pretty good talent there anyway. So going through it, win at Temple, Houston, Tulane. I say you split Tennessee and Auburn at the very least. So I think you're 4-1 coming out of that. Let's say they lose to Texas, right? I think looking in the middle of this, if you scroll up, I think the next 4 games, I think that's 3-1. I don't think they lose 2 of those games.
Yeah, I mean, gosh, on the road at Ole Miss, on the road Missouri, and
No.
2 out of 3 weeks.
Well, yeah, but that's Texas. I still say either way you look at it, I still say the 3-1. I just don't see them losing all of those games. And let's be honest, man. I'm not saying that Ole Miss and Mizzou aren't good teams. Those are not the crazy road environments that they would get against like an Alabama, against even a South Carolina, right? Like they get. I'm not saying that those two teams deserve to be in the top 10 and should be very good, but going to Faroe Field and going to Vaught Hemingway, that's not the scary, daunting task that a lot of people think that's going to be. I think that they'll get to the end of the season, and I think that they'll be in a good position to be over, and I think they're going to be better than people think. I honestly wouldn't be surprised. Like, the ceiling is higher for Texas, but if you're looking at the ceiling for Oklahoma being, I think what some people think is like 9 games, and the ceiling for Texas is like 11 or 12, it just feels like Oklahoma has a better chance of hitting their ceiling than Texas might. And again, those are different levels, but I feel like there's a better chance of OU being able to hit their ceiling than Texas.
Okay, that's interesting. I don't think I've had. I don't know that I've heard a lot of people talk about that yet.
Oh, you're welcome.
Maybe you're the first.
I mean, my grandpa Joe Chic here. I'm feeling great. So, also shout out to the views. We got 861 people here right now, which is fantastic. We appreciate it. This is great.
That is fantastic. But not all is fantastic, Chris. I've heard that you've been sad recently.
No, I've been great.
Well, who's sadder than you?
Auburn fans and college football fans. We'll keep it quick because most of the conversation is from what we've already talked about. But college football fans, I think, are all starting to get pretty upset with the fact that all of this change. Dude, I don't even think the 14 teams would have been that bad of a plan if we did it after we got to 12. But one thing about college football that I think is like very, very clear, and maybe with a lot of sports, I don't know, but you can't put things back in the box. Like, once it's opened, we're not going to go back down to 12.
What's in the box?
That's like that movie is beyond effed. I just don't think you're going to be able to go back to what it was before, and I think that a lot of college football fans are upset about that. The other one, hold on, I'm trying to look this up. The other thing is, yes, perfect, I found it. The other thing I think that people are for who's sadder than Marler is Auburn fans. They have got to be pretty pissed because, and you're not going to catch me saying this on Twitter outside of this right here, but like, dude, it's kind of a slap in the face to Auburn that they went and won the SEC championship. Bama lost in their first game. They're ranked directly in front of each other. Auburn 15, Bama 16. In terms of like 4 seeds, they did nothing. Like, playing that tournament and winning it did nothing. And one of the things, I think Bama's a really good team. I really do. I would argue that they do not belong to be. They don't belong any lower than a 4 or 5 seed at most in the NCAA tournament. But the reason why they're so high, Tyler, is just because they played a bunch of good non-con games and they won almost none of them. Like, they played Arizona, they played Purdue, they played and they lost almost every single one of those games, but they played them. So they got rewarded for it. So I think the Auburn fans are probably pretty pissed about that. Let's get into the uncensored moment of the week, and we've got a good one. Are you ready?
I saw that you had an update for me on Kate Middleton.
We're going to save that one for last.
Okay.
So I'm going to send this to you so you can post it, and I'm very excited about it. Katie Johnson from Auburn. It's one of my favorite things.
A lot of Auburn content tonight.
A lot of Auburn content. Katie Johnson had one of my favorite moments of the week because, and it didn't get a ton of press. I just sent you an article from Bro Bible that you can bring up and put on here if you want. But
did you text it to me?
I just did. Oh, wait, no, I didn't. So Katie Johnson, in a game where he got teed up, somebody posted on Twitter, and they were like, "Look at Katie Johnson doing it on and off the court, man. This just got sent to me in my whatever app, like for like as a student at Auburn, saying like what I don't know his first name, but Katie Johnson submitted this for class, right? It took like 2 minutes until somebody was like, hold on. The time stamp on this, here you go. Just got this Canvas notification. Scroll up or down. Scroll down. And it says he apparently submitted a homework assignment, and the time that he submitted it was during the game. So either someone submitted it for him, which is what happened.
Yep.
Or on the sideline, he had an iPad out and was just doing his homework during the SEC tournament.
I love this picture they chose of him just standing with his arms behind his back while guarding somebody.
He is such a dick. He is the epitome of a player you love if he's on your team, and you absolutely hate if he's not on your team. So
fantastic. Who outed him?
Himself. It was on this big bad Brad 32 did.
Big bad Brad.
Which is also, we've talked about this before. One of my favorite parts, like, media today sucks in general, but like, and especially in an election year, but one of my favorite things of media now and content that you consume, stuff that breaks, you're gonna have people like, this was actually sent to us from Big Bad Brad 69 on Twitter. Like that's incredible. All right. Last but not least, we have an update on Kate Middleton.
Okay. I'm actually kind of nervous.
Rumors swirling she's dead. Also rumors swirling she's alive. Tyler, I got key info submitted to us from Lillian Tysinger, one of our listeners, who I just realized today, I've known her for years, but she sounds British as fuck. She's my language. British as hell.
Mm-hmm.
But there was a picture that came out today.
Okay.
And it was like, hey, she was shopping with William this weekend, and like the pictures from videos from like very far away. And none of it's confirmed. It's just like, hey, look, they were obviously out. It's just William with some other woman. It's definitely not her. Anyway, here's your update. Okay, so December 25th is the last time Kate was seen at a public event. December 28th, an ambulance is seen leaving the place the Royals were spending the holidays, which never gets explained. Then in January, the Palace announced she had a planned surgery and would be in the hospital for 10 to 14 days and recovering for 3 months. She probably punched a wall, for one. You know what I mean? Like, you got surgery. Anyway, during her hospital stay, Prince William came to visit her one time, and the King came to visit her one time. No one saw her leave the hospital. Then in February, people started asking more questions because no details had come out. Then the Palace announces, actually, it's not a 3-month recovery. It'll be around 9 months. Okay. Yeah. In the meantime, Charles has cancer, which he deserves. No offense. And rumors about William's affair are running rampant. Have you seen? Oh, yeah. So William, there's rumors of an affair. And in my favorite tweet I've seen all week, under a 3-year Letterman tweet about the affair, the girl he apparently apparently had an affair with, it is such a massive step down from Kate Middleton. It is.
So what are we thinking is happening here?
Oh, we got a whole other paragraph, my man.
Can you decipher?
I think she's dead.
You think she's dead?
I think she's dead.
She just died?
I mean, I'm sure something happened. But like, bro, you're telling me that the royal family, they just can't, like, you're telling me that they, with how important public perception is to that family, and I've watched some episodes of The Crown, I get it. I'm fully invested in this.
That does make you skilled enough to talk about this.
Thank you. I appreciate you saying that. It honestly probably makes me skilled enough to be in the British tabloids for sure. But like, you're telling me that somebody, like a family that obsessed with having like the correct perception and like hoity-toity like image can't just come out and be like, hey, this is a picture of her, she's alive. Why are we photoshopping pictures of her on British Mother's Day? Why are we doing that? Also, side note, I told you this last time, somebody did a direct overlay of her face and then figured out that it was the same exact picture from like a People magazine cover or some crap from like several months prior. All right, last but not least. So then there was a photo of her and her mom driving somewhere, but there's a debate on whether it was actually her or her sister. Then on UK Mother's Day, she posts a photo of her and her kids, which is totally fine, but doesn't have her wedding ring on.
Okay.
So then, like within a few hours, all news sources pull the photo because it's been edited. Very obviously edited. Then on Twitter, Kate makes a statement that's like, oh, silly me, I was just playing with Photoshop and it wasn't good. No new photo was ever released. No other information comes out. So obviously more rumors come out. The internet has decided she's dead or divorcing William. Meanwhile, she was allegedly seen out shopping this weekend with William.
So she's been part of the royal family. I feel like divorce does mean death. She's got secrets.
Yeah.
But I mean, how could you just keep that going forever? Like,
dude,
this never goes to another event again. I mean,
think of the question you're asking right now. This is an actual family in an actual country in 2024 where they are the king and queen of a whole country. People are still like, "Go, God, save the queen." Get the fuck out of here. Also, side note, if this has been centuries of what is, for lack of better example or lack of better words, just genetic grooming. Hey, here's the best possible genetics we can get for these people. How do they continue to get such ugly people in this family? I mean, William is disgusting looking, and that's coming from me. Maybe he's like me, and every day he thanks God that he made him funny. I don't know, but it's tough. Chance Pope is speaking the truth in the chat.
Okay, wow. So we're going clones now.
Clones and drones, baby, 2024. Anyway, that was from our British correspondent, Lillian Tysinger.
Okay, well, I, for one, am very much looking forward to finding out what happens in this case.
Mm-hmm.
And the podcast that comes out from it as well.
Same.
There's going to be a cereal or something.
I love cereal.
Like Lucky Charms or?
No, I'm not a big Lucky Charms guy. I tell you what I like to do. I like to take 2 to 3 cereals and mix them together. So like what I've been doing lately is I'll get like grape nut flakes,
okay,
Cheerios, and then grape nuts on top. Get a little crunch going.
Get a little sandwich.
Yeah, a little sandwich, cereal sandwich.
Cool.
Yeah, we'll end on that.
All right. Well, hey, Florida State football, spring football started today, so I'm excited, man.
Good, man. Should have brought that up.
Well, nothing happened.
Oh, okay.
It's just starting, and I'm excited about it.
Love it. Love it. As you should be. We hit a new record again on this episode.
I know. We're about to hit 1,000 live listeners, so we appreciate everyone tuning in. For those that have never tuned in, welcome to Fourth and Wrong. We stream every Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern on our YouTube channel as well as Twitter. So join us there. Join us in the comments. During the season, maybe this offseason we'll open up the phone line. But we usually have a phone line during the season where we can call in. I think we're going to do live callers at some point. Maybe that's an off-season thing.
Well, I'm in for that.
Yeah, we'll think about that. We'll see if we can do that. And we are going to be getting our social medias going, but we are YouTube, Apple, Spotify, pretty much wherever you can find your podcast now.
Yeah. And leave us a 5-star review. We got a couple on there already. So
yeah, we could use as many as we can get. Keep growing this show. Again, we're out independent. Yay. So help us out. Spread the word. And for Chris, I'm Tyler. Thanks for tuning in. Talk to you soon.